I'm truly humbled by your feedback and kindness every day that we receive. And then to the original, which is hard to believe, it's called a website, the thing we still struggle with the most. To our original Explore.org fans on our website, I really can't say enough about you. The average time on Explore.org's website per person is 50 minutes. We are a network. And there is this robust community of like-minded people, the most beautiful of all people, who truly are what make Explore unique. It's truly a selfless community, and that's what I hope by the end of this talk tonight we're going to learn, is what you see on a screen is irrelevant. It's always the people that make things special. And what Explore has done is we've been able to showcase selfless people, and it's our fans. It's the power of collective consciousness. And I think as we walk through tonight, and I share some stories at the end, you'll understand just that. Like I said, I'm a little jet lagged. I rarely write things down. I want to make sure I don't mean anything. But on the Explore website, truly it's on the forefront of citizen science, nature conservation, and connecting people to animals and nature like no other scientist or media organization has ever done before in the history. Because you get to observe nature in its purity, unedited, uninterrupted, the way it unfolds. It's never been done before, and it's just such a great honor to be that steward. Excuse me for a minute. At Explore, I always like to say that purity is our currency. And so, on that note, I see a lot of this room is stuff with some people who work for me. So I want to thank right now the people who do work for Explore, their selfless dedication. For without them, I would be nowhere. So thank you guys all so much. It's truly an amazing effort. And then lastly, to all the people who ventured out tonight in the rain, I actually don't know if you know who I am, what I do, what I stand for. We're going to learn tonight a little bit. Thank you. And I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Explore family. Explore truly is a unique place. It's an antidote to stress. It's a bridge to escape. It's a place where learning becomes fun again. I like to call that Sesame Street for adults, truly. And as this night proceeds, if anyone finds himself a little bored, that's okay. In fact, I encourage you to turn on your phones, not turn them off. And if you want, go to explore.org. Because right now, I guarantee you there's probably an elephant or a hippo out in Africa, some pandas frolicking in China. We have a cam up in space with NASA where you can see the Earth. Perhaps the northern lights are out tonight. There's puppies all over the world sleeping, lots of infrared cameras. So I won't take that personal. I'd actually prefer, because that's really what this talk is kind of about. Sad losing your eyesight. Some of the mission statements, it's interesting, of Explore when we started was, and still is, to champion the selfless acts of others, to create a portal into the soul of humanity, and to inspire lifelong learning. We live in a world where selflessness is so underrated. It's really hard for someone to kind of strive in the nonprofit world and get credit. I don't think there's a parent in the world that says, "You're doing what?" It's really a commitment, like you'll see in this gentleman, Joel, who's done this show. And so really when we started, which started with films, it's really about giving people voices. And it doesn't matter if it's a film or a live cam, it's still about, back to that word, community, and the selfless heroism of the people that we respect. And so really what you see is just the tip of the iceberg. And what's so unique about Explore is that if you go to it truly, you can probably get a PhD in anything, in science. You can study nature to like no one's ever done. Or like I said, for me personally, because I'm not at the PhD level, if you guys haven't noticed already, I use it to escape. It's my antidote to stress. And in a world where there is a lot of stress and chaos, it's a really peaceful place to connect to the natural world and fall in love with it. And I think that's where Joel and I's mission are so similar. You know, Joel is photographing animals, a lot of them now. I've known Joel for a while, so he wasn't always doing this, but in captivity and trying to preserve animals. But his mission is, I want you to fall in love with it. And that's kind of my theory too. So you take care of what you fall in love with. So by observing nature in its natural habitat, my hope is that you'll fall in love with the world and as a result become better stewards. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science here. So I want to thank you all for coming. And lastly, I want to thank my mother, Wallace Annenberg, for she's an extraordinary visionary, one of the world's great philanthropists, for allowing me to create this beautiful world called explore.org. And also its microsites. Dog bless you, and I have nicknames for everything, if you can't tell, and what I call my life cams, Pearls of the Planet. Mom, I have a sense I know where you are tonight. I would be there with you if I could, and I am truly blessed to have you in my life. As both I respect you as a philanthropist, and of course I love you as your son. So where and how should... Hey, Daphne, how are you doing? See? Just in case I need to break the audience. What's really scary is I'm actually used to carrying Daphne everywhere now, and anyone knows me knows this. I don't even notice I have her. I feel like it's like a ventriloquist, or in the Austin Power movies, you know, the cat. I got an evil plan. I'm going to save the world by making you fall in love with it. You know, I don't even notice she's in my arm. It's just wild. So, you know, tonight's interesting. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. Let's keep it pure. Let's keep it real. Let's enjoy ourselves. I've been doing this for about 14 years, and I've kind of lived a Forrest Gump-like existence. Seriously. If you met people who met me in my travels in the Middle East, they'd say, oh yeah, I met that guy, Muhammad Charlie. Traveling through Africa, people say they met me, they'd say, oh yeah, I met that guy, Charlie Marley. In Hawaii, they'd say, oh yeah, I met that guy, Charlie a cow. And if you travel through the Deep South, they'll say, I remember that guy, Hillbilly Charlie. Yeah, Hillbilly. So I've really been able to be a chameleon and just meet lots of beautiful people. You know, and I say this because what I love about travel, photography, and our live cams is, you know, I look at the photography around this room, it allows, I think, each and every one of us to feel like a child again. We're in the moment. You know, I mean, I can even see a cow taking a number 2 while I'm driving. Whoa, look at that, pull over. But you know, it's really, it's amazing because it allows you to be in the moment. And that's one of the main mantras of Explore, is it's a blend of Never Stop Learning meets Sesame Street for adults. It's about making learning fun again. It's about reconnecting to the world, reconnecting to great minds in a way that you don't feel intimidated because you're not smart enough. Degrees aren't necessary to explore. It's about learning. It's about the path. It's about the path of discovery. So that said, like I told you, I'm a little jet lagged. I just came back from a pretty neat trip. I'll share at the end. It's a pretty big deal for me personally. And I have to be honest, it's kind of hard to be in Century City tonight. I'm kind of more of a field person. I'm not really a Century City type guy. And, you know, but David over here, you know, months ago, he asked me if I'd come up. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I saw the raid, so I'm really flattered. Thank you for each and every one of you guys to come. And David and his editor, Tony, cut together some clips of Explore, which I always find interesting because I've done really a lot of things in 14 years. It's a lot of storytelling. I mean, I feel like Moses' journey through the desert is short compared to this. And I don't know if it's interesting or not, actually, anymore. So it's neat to get people's, their point of views. So I I looked to it. I mean, it's that journey. I'll begin it. I'm just give you a sense. There's over 300 documentary films, at least. A photo gallery unparalleled to anyone's. I know we're at National Geographic Studios, but I put ours right up to it. A few years ago, we made an opera on the war in Iraq that won an Emmy. We launched the Dog Bless You website, and just to give it a little context, Dog Bless You is about people who see animals as guardian angels of the human spirit, but it's also the leading provider of service dogs to soldiers with PTSD, children with disabilities. In fact, there's not been a single natural disaster, including these fires of recent, there's not a Dog Bless You dog on the scene. So again, to the people live streaming, you're one of a kind. Thank you. And then the live cams, which we call Pearls of the Planet, the ability to observe nature in its purity, which is so unique because when you watch things on TV, what you don't realize is when you edit something, you manipulate. I want you to feel. I add music. You see a shark. What does everyone think? Teeth, bite, danger. Everything's always happening, but it doesn't unfold that way in nature. And so it's a great honor, all this stuff. And so that said, I've talked a lot. Jet lag is a beauty. Daphne, everyone. And so let's play. Let's see what David and Tony have for us tonight.
Hi, my name is Charlie, and welcome to Explore. To explore is to dream, to grow, to learn, to experience. Come explore. Join me.
First word, thorough. Hola, Carlos. ¿Cómo está? Right there, it's two different countries touching.
Mario. What's your name? Carlos?
My name is Greg.
What's your name?
Greg. Gregorio.
Alejandro.
As I journeyed through India, I realized that it's still a contemporary global issue.
One man in the world. His name is All Man. There's only one woman in the world. Her name is All Woman. They have a child. That child's name is All Children.
What's up? I almost stole some lettuce from your way. Well, we're developing a program. Can I get a job? That's what we're working towards, man.
The people, and he said he could see the souls. But what we're saying today is that we are lifting up the souls of the community.
The sign behind me reads, giving birth to a male child or female child is equally as good.
We have a beautiful territory. The more I see it, the more I'm in love with our land.
Wow, it's breathtaking.
Last year I became one of the 7 countries in the world that got a British award. For me it was a very big thing. However, this is not me who's done all these things, it's God's work. The biggest thing is of course love and selflessness. She touches the lives of 600,000 people in one way or another, but this is her very important job. The orphans. For me, this is paradise.
Hold that for a sec. Professor Charlie, another nickname. Critique some of that. We'll just, hold on. How do you do that again? Hold on. You know, that it was so interesting about what I just saw. A lot of this is a little nostalgia. That opening was really interesting because when that opening started, that's like 12 years ago. And we'd only done 2 trips. So I think about it, 300 films. Facebook, I don't even know if existed. I don't know if YouTube existed, this film. But I'll never forget seeing this. We had just come out with 2 films, and we had done one in America. And to give you some perspective, I only say this. We got our first metrics in. And I remember I had to challenge my team. We got to get 100 unique viewers a week. This isn't acceptable. 100. It's wild, because over the summer, we passed 1 million in a week. And so, Explore is just about a journey. It just unfolds. But it's really neat, how technology and everything changes. So, I was looking at these clips. There was New Orleans, which we had done, China and Tibet, and Africa. They were the first few projects. And the former executive of the Annenberg Foundation, Leonard Abbey, who unfortunately has passed away, I remember saying, you got to have the right, title, the right cover. And he said, you need a mission. It has to be 7 words. I was like, champion selfless acts of others, never stop learning, portal into soul of humanity. So it's really interesting to see this, because like I said, I haven't seen this, and it's kind of nostalgic looking at that, because how much we grow. Who would have known? I was actually born in Roswell, New Mexico. They used to call me UFO baby growing up. So on this trip here, I went back to Roswell, and then we went down to the border. This is on the border of El Paso. It's interesting to think that this border issue has become so relevant today, and how we're separated by a fence. But how history, which is kind of a theme of Explore, always changes, because 100 years ago, that fence would have been all the way over here, and it would have been one. And so it's, again, I'm enjoying, Professor Charlie is critiquing this film. This story, pretty amazing. We'll tie into a later story, ironically, that they chose this. All these girls this is India, and all these girls had been sold into slavery or forced into it and had been rescued out of it. So I was asked to go meet them and film them. It was a film I called My Three Swamis. And one of the things I learned making documentary films was people don't like to talk about the past, where are we moving forward, but what's the portal into their soul? What makes them human again? And I'd been traveling through India thinking I was going to meet all these swamis, and I hadn't. So I asked these girls, I was like, I'm really stiff. Do any of you guys do yoga or meditate? And they all did. And so what was unique was their eyes, as you see, start to shine, and they were giving me a yoga class. And it was really an amazing experience. Truly heroic girls. And then this film here was amazing. This man right here, what a legend. I'll just hold it there. But one of the themes of Explorer is always seeing things through the eyes. History is always written by, I kind of hate to say it, but those who conquer. And we did a project, we did 18 days down the Grand Canyon. And what was unique about it was we went down with just tribes of indigenous Native Americans that kind of explained the Grand Canyon through their eyes. And just all group of different philanthropic leaders. And the man who's speaking was Russell Means, who was a big activist in the 70s and has since passed away. In fact, a lot of people who've been on Explorer, some of them in our movies have been assassinated, some have passed away, but truly all beautiful people. Detroit, nothing like Motown. The city of revolution, the city of change, the city of industry, and this project was about what is the next evolution of our country as seen through Detroit. And if you have time, these films are on Explorer, on YouTube, and in fact, they're all on Amazon Prime as well. So if you have time, please, in addition to the live cams, they're really unique. I'm, of course, biased. you know. But I always say, whatever I say, divide by 50%, you know, truly. And this, we can go on and on. I don't want to, you know, bore you too much, but we did a project on global warming in the Arctic, and again, through indigenous eyes, and this was the, you know, it's interesting with the whole, you know, with women today, this woman was a mayor of the Iqaluit, and so she took us through the Arctic region. What? Yeah, that's stuff. And, you know, kind of explain global warming again in cultural things through the name of, you know, more indigenous eyes. And I always find that interesting, because if you opened a book right now and you looked about the Arctic, they always talk about these English explorers discovering it, but they didn't discover it. Nor was America discovered 200 years ago. And so it was really nice. There's no right or wrong, but just kind of giving people a voice. And this woman, she's the Mother Teresa of Ethiopia. She was married, happily married, successful. She came across babies who had HIV and couldn't stand for it, opened an orphanage. Her husband left her, and she couldn't turn her back on them, and has created one of the most prosperous orphanages, Mama Babovich, in Ethiopia. I don't know if I should have critiqued so much. So we'll go from there. So I think the next chapter kind of segues into Dog Bless You. And like I said, I think I'm like looking at this because for me, it's really, my eyes are being open to it, because it's neat when people put together kind of your journey for you.
I got a British award. For me, it was a very big thing. However, this is not me who's done all these things. It's God's work. The biggest thing is, of course, love and selflessness. She touches the lives of 600,000 people in one way or another. But this is her very important job, the orphans. For me, this is paradise.
Sorry about that, but finger.
And when I saw him, I just couldn't believe it. I went up to him, put my hand under the cage. He put my paw right in my hand. Yeah, that's right. He remembers. And this woman came up to me, and I'm like, tell me about this dog. Tell me about this dog. And she says, we don't know anything about this dog, except we found him in an abandoned apartment building. And I said, when'd you find him? And they found him February 1st, the day my dog died. And there are people to this day that don't know this is Chester. And we've been best friends since. And so Lucky and I, we were a two-man show. You know, we just traveled America from the Pound to the White House.
Lucky's like a famous dog. All right, we got to hold on that. Professor Charlie needs to make a few notes here. I gotta stand up, excuse me. And feel free to, you know, I'll keep it going. But so that was a segue to, as you see the shirt, Dog Bless You. And I had this amazing golden retriever named Lucky. Daphne, we love you. It was really amazing story, like that scene. I had a dog before that, Chester, and he had passed away. And he was like my best friend. I don't know if people are connected to their dogs, but I really love this dog. And I remember he died on, you know, February 1st, and I just said, you know, hey, I remember whispering in his ear right before he died, I will find you. 3 weeks later, I was driving in the valley, and this was before the Wallace Annenberg Pet Center, of course, so, you know, I was looking for dogs, but I would have gone there. But I was just driving through the valley, and I felt this need to pull over. And I get out of my car, and I walk, and it's all these kind of unkept dogs. They're barking, and sitting there in the back was this majestic dog. He was special. Calm as can be, chest out, paws down. I kind of tripping out. He looked just like my dog. I put my hand under the cage, and he puts his paw in my hand. I'm losing it. I tell the lady, I go, tell me about this dog. Tell me about this dog. She says, you know, we don't know anything about this dog. We found him in an abandoned apartment building. Wow, really? Well, when did you find him? And she says, February 1st. And that was the day my dog died. And so, you know, I caught him out. I think people didn't even know or they didn't want to tell me, but like I got this dog out. And what ensued is probably what you saw right there is probably the most philanthropic dog in the history of humanity. Like, you know, Steinbeck had traveling with Charlie. Lucky and I have traveled to every state in America minus 2, Minnesota and Iowa, which I hope to get to this year. We've done projects in every state. And through that, I really saw the impact of dogs and people in dropping ego. From there, I mean, we worked with everyone, and we were doing a project with the U.S. military once. I'll never forget this. I walk in, and everyone had a nickname, you know? And so they called me the dude, like Lebowski. And dude didn't want to be there either. I'm not into filming people. I like keeping it real. But I'll never forget this day. One day, you know, I'm sitting there, and we're about to go fly fishing. This film was called Fish Out of Water. Another one, write down if you ever want, about the power of fly fishing and healing. I walk into this room, I knock on the door, and sitting under this like concrete floor in this bed is this young guy, 21, shaking like crazy. He's like, get out of here, dude. I'm like, I was told we gotta go fly fishing. I don't want to go fly fishing. So, okay. Meanwhile, Lucky walks up to him as a golden retriever can and kind of puts his paw by his head and says, and I say, hey, I got an idea. Dude has an idea. Lucky doesn't want to go fly fishing either. Why don't you watch him? And I'm going to go. It's kind of hot out. I'm sitting in the bus. A few minutes later, I see this guy, 23-year-old guy, calm as can be with this dog. We get on the bus. We never say a word. That single incident was the birth of Dog Bless You and pairing dogs with soldiers. And I probably over 300 to 400. And we work with nonprofit organizations all over the world. I mean, in America. And if you go on to Explorer's website, you'll see a lot of dog cams, a lot of puppies. All those puppies will become service dogs. Some are rescued. Some people are training them out of jail. Some are soldiers rescuing them. Again, collective consciousness. We also do seeing eye dogs anytime there's a natural disaster. But so when I look at that story of Lucky, it began that way. And it's really amazing because that journey, like I said, it's a dog. He went from a pound, and we broke into the White House. We weren't really invited. I mean, I could tell you that story. It's kind of funny because actually Lucky took a number 2 on the lawn. I wish I had that photo. It was great. But he did make it to the White House, and he touched so many people's lives. And without Lucky, there would be no Dog Bless You, which is a site, like I said, alone of over 10 million strong. And it was a beautiful journey about the connection of animals and people and falling in love, which is, I think, part of what this show today is about, is falling in love with your natural world. So it's,
Hi, my name is Charlie, and I'm the founder of Explore.org. Pearls of the Planet as a concept has always been a dream of mine. It's a series of live cams connected around the world that allow you to observe the natural splendors of our planet. The mission of Pearls of the Planet is really simple. I just want people to see nature up close and personal so they can fall in love with the world again. And one of my fantasies is to have these Pearls of the Planet cathedrals where people could walk in and it'd be all these live screens where people could just see in real time this beauty that's surrounding them every minute and just sit and take it in as an antidote to stress. The collaboration with Explore.org and the Annenberg Space for Photography and Skylight Studios in particular will be the first time that my dream of creating a natural cathedral is going to come true. Have a great experience and welcome.
This was some of the clips they put together. Rare gyri falcon. I think this was in the Arctic, right? That just shows up right in front of our camera. Doesn't know there's any humanity around, you know, but you can observe it, see it, love it. One of our underwater brown bear cams. I don't know how many people thought they'd see a brown bear swimming or catching a salmon in their life. Ah, sweet. My little babies. I love my guy. Here's above water. It's a very iconic scene. I don't know if anyone's seen our brown bear cams. It really is a national phenomenon. This is in Africa. A little curious guy coming up to our cam. Little baby. One of our very popular hummingbird cams. I mean, where else could you be this up close and personal? Seeing that relationship. So beautiful. The purity. Purity is the currency. Special thing. China? Yeah, like I said, if you have your phone, I would actually not be listening to me, see if this is going on right now. I last night was looking at them and they were really active. They're not always, but my little panda babies. And it was really quite an honor that I'll say that later. Very popular kid. We have lots of eagle cams. You know, but again, you're in a nest. Pure. Seeing their world. No interruptions. These dogs will become service dogs. We have a lot of live births on our site. Hey, little babies. You know, massage place hasn't opened up in the Arctic yet for the polar bears. The great gray owl. I mean, come on, Harry Potter.
I walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing, singing in the rain.
And of course, we get the northern lights at some of our cams.
Look at the eye contact between the mother and the child. I mean, they're just staring at each other. It's no different than humans.
Absolutely. You look into the eyes of a gorilla and you see an awful lot of you staring back. And that compassion that exists between a mother and a baby is very much the same thing that you see within humans.
Lots of underwater cams. See sharks, turtles, lots of sea life. Pure, no scuba divers, anyone there, natural habitat. Shark ate my camera, great white. So enjoy the look in his mouth. I was right next to it. He was cute though. My big baby. How was your... Oh, is this still going on the live cams? Okay. These are the partners. Okay, I'll do the... Hold for a sec. Millions of clips. And what's unique on Explore, if you have the opportunity to go, is we have an icon camera button. And it allows our fans to take photos. I think in the last 6 months, there's been like 6 million photos taken. And those photos are recorded into clips. So you're really both a citizen scientist and just a fan. I'm a fan. And that's just like how's Joel's taken thousands of photos and there's only so much space. Those are just a few highlights. But again, what makes this so unique is the partnerships of people. One of the most popular partnerships, and I'll begin it from here, is the Service Dog Project. This is a lady in Ipswich, Massachusetts. She could have her own reality show. at least on Explore, and she raises Great Danes, and these Great Danes become service dogs. In fact, one of the Great Danes won Service Dog of the Year last year, if you look her up. What was her name again, the dog? Yeah, George. ABC, everyone's covered George, about a service dog who takes this little girl to school, takes her all around. Courtney, who works for me, has one of them, a Great Dane, who's in the office, Lulu. But she's amazing. So if you, but all of them are. But all.
Look, she behaved herself. She's a good girl.
I love that video because it's so great. You can see the bear pulling the clamshell apart. So easy for it.
It may be surprising to you, but the older a lobster
That's
gets,
Sylvia Earle,
and the bigger it gets,
off Anna Kappa on the
the
Explore
more
Cam.
babies it produces. So, in areas where lobsters can be fished, they don't get a chance to get as big as this one.
And so there are a lot of tools that rangers like myself use to accomplish our jobs, to do our jobs.
We saw an adult bald eagle that was flying overhead, and we've been getting some reports from one of the local landowners as early as the last couple weeks here that the parents have been flying around.
And this year in Katmai we are celebrating our centennial season, founded as a national monument by Woodrow Wilson in 1918. We celebrate 100 years this year with many different events and special speakers throughout the summer. You can find out more about that on the park website or explore.org.
I got the bear cam running in a big screen, and it's live.
Alaska
and then the leader gets up, and he's standing next to me. Yes, talking about a few things, you know, kind of coordinating us and stuff. And normally everybody's looking at him, right? But I'm noticing there's a lot of people who are looking past him, right? And I look, and they're all looking at the bear cam. So it was great.
Let's hold for 1 sec before I get here. Nice way to pause. Nice shot. Again, what really makes Explore unique is the selfless community. And in addition, for me, like I said, it can be as simple as an antidote to stress. We do a lot of live chats. And people all over the world tune in. They get to ask questions. You get to meet all these selfless heroes who are truly trying to preserve nature. I often, nicknames, Pearls of the Planet, I like to look at a lot of these camps. They're like natural cathedrals. So I always try to explain to a park ranger or someone, like they're like keepers of these temples, these sanctuaries, keeping this peace. And they're so dedicated, it's really nice to see. And that's just a smidgen. And so we have them, you know, every week because there's so many cameras. I think, Alex, what do you say, 198 streams now? 197 streams on Explore alone, in addition to the photography, the films, the Dog Bless You. So you can keep yourself busy. For me, my routine every morning to escape stress is I just turn on the live cams, and I do it before I go to sleep, and it's just so exciting to see what's transpiring and its purity. And then, you know, I take little. It's so fun. Like, we just launched a new cam, but I take a shot and I ask a question like, what's that little bluebird or that green bird? And someone immediately is like answering. So back to Sesame Street for adults. I love learning. So it's really unique. What's also been very complimentary of Explore is, you know, when we first started, I think one of the main missions was to become a destination of trust. Back to that word purity. And what's nice now is that a lot of people have kind of caught on to live cams, but they really ask to be showcased on Explore because they know that we'll preserve their integrity and try to showcase the world. And so just recently, we've been working with NASA. Like, if you have a cam right now, you can see the Earth. I think there's going to be one with the space station. So these are just some of the shots from that. I mean, you could watch right now if you're on your phone. This is just a video clip. But I always see shots of sunrises and things I never thought were possible. This will be the camera in the Congo that you saw. And what's neat is this is in a war-torn area, and these Congolese women and men will be talking about conflict and preservation. And this is with Cornell Labs. We're doing a cam on. You see how many fans take. That's like in 1 minute. Oh boy. Sorry. What I'm doing, by the way. Is it time to turn on the phones? All right. Because I'm okay if it is. That's a compliment to me. I just wanted to pause, but, you know, amazing. So like the Cornell lab, like in the last month, the Cornell Lab of Ontology, the leading bird people, have just given us a cam in Panama. This cam you got to check out. I mean, the most colorful birds I've ever seen. At night, I've seen bats, possum, you know, NASA, you know, the Congolese people asking us, will you help showcase and give us a voice? So it's really complimentary to be getting these calls, and it also makes our life easier. It's really a beautiful thing. And lately we've been getting a lot of press. Professor Charlie is critiquing David's excellent work. So I was like, hold on, I think we're going to a different topic here. I could tell. This lady at the New Yorker just completely caught, she didn't interview one person at Explore and just completely caught our essence. I like to think of ourselves as nature meditations, kind of a zen, an escape. And she wrote about the purity of it in comparison to our host, not our host, as in my mom, Annenberg, but National Geographic's and the Ark and different things about the purity of nature and how sacred that is today. It's a great article if you look it up on the New Yorker. And this was us being called the Netflix of live nature, which is coming. These are some of the viewer testimonials. I just, you know, feedback is our currency. That's how I get paid. It truly is like I'm going to go back to that beautiful community. I mean, we have such an amazing volunteer network who run these live cams, and people write to us all the time. You know, I just got a letter from a girl who was one of our cam ops, and I know attention spans are short, but do you mind if I share a little bit with you? Is that okay? All right. And I share this with you because, again, I say it's not about the images. It's about the community and the collective consciousness. I don't know if there are other places on the web or in the world that have it. It's really a testament. A girl named Maddie, 16 years old, I guess. Some of you have never met Madeline Maddie Martin, but those of you who did would never forget her. She was 16 when she started cam opping for us, and she took the most remarkable photos. She was homeschooled and dependent on feeding and breathing tubes to live every day. Mitochondrial disease gave her time to be on the internet, finding unique views and learning. We love our health, don't we, baby? Constantly learning. Her parents always thanked us for giving her the opportunity to expand her horizons. Through Explore.org, she met people who became her friends and saw the world through the eyes of a camera lens, sometimes with her pet chinchilla Lucy sitting on her shoulder. Since Madeline was also autistic, friendships didn't happen easily. But the Explore.org spirit prevailed, and she was free and without earthly limits when she was on the cams. Even at her sickest, she would send me a cryptic one-word Skype alert saying orcas, Hoover the tiger, magic. I would drop everything and rush to each site to find a great view to share on Facebook. I nicknamed her Secret Agent M because of her stealth-like appearances and ability to interpret and predict animal behaviors. Maddie wanted to be a veterinarian, so it made sense that she became attached to the Big Cat Rescue Windsong camera. She would have stayed on that camera all day, all week, all month if she could have. She knew every cat, every procedure, and remembered detail that amazed us all. She hated to give it up, but she still watched every surgery. The last time I talked to her, she rode along with me on the brown bear cameras. I did the driving and was lucky enough to find Grazer and her cubs at Brooks Falls. Maddie was amazed at how much they'd grown since the start of the season. She could only stay online for 10 minutes because it tired her out, but we promised that we would do it again soon. Her father thanks us again and again when he called to tell me that Maddie lost her battle this morning. Peaceful with her parents. Ugh. See, it breaks me up. She was 19. Sorry about that. Her spirit will be with many of us for the rest of our lives. Explore changes lives every day. It changed hers, mine, and I'm sure many of yours. It changed mine forever by giving me the opportunity to meet all of you and a young photographer who just loved the cameras. Goodbye, Agent Maddie. I can't tell you how much we'll miss you. So, that is truly beautiful. And that's what I'm saying. We get a lot of letters like that. You know, people who are sick, who battle depression, who don't have the opportunity to travel to Voyeur all over the world. And you know, it's a real testament to the community, the purity of it. You know, and I thank each and every one of them. So recently, let's blow some wind out of that, because that took me. Unique things happen on Explore all the time. There was a hurricane recently. Hurricane Florence, I believe its name. We have so many now that it's hard to keep up. And it was really funny. Years ago, this guy approaches me and he says, it's off Cape Fear, North Carolina, and he says, would you like to put a cam on our site? And I said, yeah, I would. And so there's an underwater cam, and you saw that shot of the turtle and the barracuda. Every day, if you look at that cam, you're almost guaranteed to see sharks, barracuda, all types of sea life. And remember, there's no people, so you're really studying it in its purity. And on top, you get this beautiful view. And I remember telling him, I said, you know, one of the things that intrigues me about this cam is you're right in I used to live in North Carolina, so you're right in the path of a hurricane zone. So this was just recently. This, you have to watch it, just edit these testimonials. Sorry, I'm not good with this. But you'll see. So this took place in this, it's all be sped up because we don't want to bore you, but this was like a national phenomenon, and the American flag suddenly began to disintegrate. There were 198,000 simultaneous viewers watching this. In fact, I think in one day there was 12 million hours watched. And what was unique about this, and what isn't shown, is like I'd often go underwater. Like how to fish and sea life. What do they do in a hurricane? Do you think there's a researcher in the world who knows? Huh? No. That's what's so unique, is that you actually could see what's going on in its purest element. That's what I love. And there was such an outpouring about the flag that all the fans did a fundraiser to put it back. And it is back there now.
work on the flagpole here in just a few minutes, and once we get all that up and configured right, we'll hang a new flag.
Let's give respect, guys and ladies. This flag is something many people bled for, and we're honored to be part of just being able to show it. So with that said, gentlemen, you ready? Is it not enough? That's all right. I'll go up there and fix it, guys. Wait. There we go. Well, you know, probably.
Hold on. If I know time, could be skipping here. Hey. We'll skip a little bit. The dog bless you. I'm sorry to skip, but I know that people do have a schedule, so I'll kind of jump. What was unique about that flag was it was such an outpouring that they did a campaign on Explore, and I think it raised $11,000 to help restore the flag and build it. And again, I bring that back because that was very interesting to me. I didn't expect it, about collective, is everything? Well, the money went through the Red Cross to restore the flag. So, no, yeah, it did. But it was am I right about that? It was for the flag, or?
So they restored it themselves, but then they donated all of the funds that were donated.
Yes, thank you. We've been, and it's funny, there are a lot of crises, as we know, environmentally lately, and suddenly Explore is kind of, as we'll kind of see as we kind of head towards the end, is kind of changed. Like Explore, like watching that opening video, and so like that was a really big deal, but then things have been going on left and right that have even grown beyond that. And so what they did was they had a fundraiser for the Red Cross and raised $11,000 for hurricane relief, and someone donated the flag. We skipped a little section with the dog bless you and the vets, because time is getting short. I want to do more question and answers, but I'll wear this hat. I only wear this hat because it's journey time. So I just got back from a really unique trip, and I went to the Himalayas. And I went through Calcutta, India, and then I went to this country, Bhutan, where I had been reading about it, this whole idea of gross national happiness, collective consciousness, keeping the environment intact. Now, gross national happiness just means progress with purpose. And I was really intrigued, and it was a unique trip for me. It was, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I actually had never traveled alone, so I really wanted to get lost and just go and kind of discover. And so I guess there's some footage of this. I didn't really film so much, but it was interesting that they used the clip from the Rescue Foundation, because when I was in Calcutta, I was working with an organization of girls who, again, had been forced into slavery and had been rescued. And one of the keys, and the reason I put on this hat, it's hard to believe it was just like 2 weeks ago that I was there, was how am I going to connect with people? How do you connect with people? What's the gateway? What's the trick? No one wants to talk about their past. We all have baggage. Let's talk about the future. And so I walk into this room and I had this idea. I'll bring Explore. I'll bring the live cams. I'll bring this dog bless you cap. It's going to create a sense of community. It's going to open the gateway to love. And this journey, as you're about to see, starts in Calcutta, goes to Bhutan. Keep in mind, I don't know anyone. This isn't like a high-profile type trip. It was really about getting lost. And walking around and sharing, you know, I figured then in Bhutan, with a country that loves nature, I thought, oh, well, this would be interesting to share them, explore, and get their take. And I admit I had a fantasy filming, didn't happen, fantasy reality. But I was amazed at the power of Dog Bless You and the Pearls of the Planet. It's pretty mind-boggling. And then I'm going to add that last bit, that while I was in Bhutan, we had the fires, and what you can do through the Explore community anywhere in the world. That's Mount Everest. Doing the Rescue Foundation, the sequel, I feel like. Yeah, a week ago. Who would have known? All these artists. Say hi, everyone. This is in Calcutta.
Hello. Hello.
This is just off my iPhone. Welcome to Calcutta. Well, I guess my name is Charlie. God bless you.
Nice to meet you too.
I host in California or in America the show called Explore.org. Our mantra is never stop learning because it makes life fun. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
This is outside my office in Los Angeles. There's a pier and there's the ocean, but it's nighttime. So that's actually outside my window.
You have a very fancy office.
Yes. But what's unique about it is it's very pure. So most of the things you see are live. So, you know, no one's trying to manipulate the animals, just let them be. You have lots of puppy cameras, lots of dog cameras and cats. We'll just stop there for a sec, but we keep going. But yeah, I mean, this is just a week ago, and it's just so amazing. So before it was yoga, but this time it was through the connection of animals in these camps. It just dropped all the boundaries and created the sense of community. And it was so neat to say, you know, by the way, just sign up to Explore. We do live chats, introduce yourself, welcome to our global community, you know, post whatever you want, do whatever you want. And it's really neat, you know, because I even see, I know some of their nicknames when I'm on the community. Occasionally I see it. So it's beautiful. This was in Bhutan. This was a monastery for nuns. Talk about selfless. We're seeing this footage together for the first time. So. These performances. The face is so beautiful. Hey, who put that in? That was me at a school, sharing the live cams, Sacred Temple, the Dog Bless You, and we're going to pause right there. So that is the King of Bhutan. I didn't plan on meeting the King of Bhutan.
Which one?
Number 5. Number 5. So, but what was unique was I was touring around the country, and the Bhutanese love dogs. In fact, it's believed in Buddhism that the dog is the closest thing to the next level of being human. So I didn't know wearing my Dog Bless You cap was going to get like a lot of attention. And then I went to these schools, and I was, you know, sharing this live cam technology. And keep in mind, people haven't even seen the ocean. It's a landlocked country. And they just couldn't believe it because they love nature so much. So this 1-2 punch was kind of crazy. And so the last day, funny American story, my dream in Bhutan was to go to these really remote villages and film. I don't know, maybe it's something in our own American psyche sometimes, but the lady who was, there's only 2 helicopters in the country, and this lady from New York, I guess she didn't want to share with me and said, I don't want to go. You know, me and my husband just want to go. I don't want him to go. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I heard her, but I just told the guy, don't worry about it. Somehow or another, that led me to meeting the king. And I'm sitting there at lunch one day, and all these people rush up to me, and they say, Mr. Charlie, you know, Guzu Gampala, Mr. Charlie, His Majesty wants to meet you. And this guy is really revered here. I mean, like, beloved. I'm like, the king wants to meet me? Really? The dude? Okay, does anyone have a clean shirt? We ended up having a 2.5-hour conversation. Just as far as me, closer than anyone in this room. And it was really unique. He was talking about the history of the country, the love of nature, progress with purpose. It was weird. We started like exchanging even ideas of what I hope to do with Explore in the future. He was excited to take it home to share with his kid, who will be the next king. He's even, I think, even sent message about some of the cabs. And it was just an amazing journey. And the reason why I bring it up is I never would have believed, back to that original video, when I was trying to get 100 people, that this concept of animals and the connection that we all share, you know, would lead it. Because it was certainly not through a phone call. I didn't know. It was just this hat I was wearing in this live camps. And it was one of the craziest experiences of my life. I mean, it was just crazy. But meanwhile, the thing that he was most impressed with, most impressed with, as was I, was that during this time, the fires had broken out. And I actually have to be honest, I'm the type of guy who likes to get involved when something happens, and I've kind of felt guilty being in Bhutan. So I walked into an internet cafe, and you remember I mentioned the flag and the 11,000? Contacted my staff, and I said, you know, this is game on. This is a live drill. We got to do something. You know, we got to, like, people, when there is suffering, they love to come together, collective consciousness, community. So, I mean, I emailed Courtney, Dara, Rick, Alex, this whole team, great team, you should all get to know, Emily. And while I was in Bhutan, remember, internet cafe, halfway around the world, in 5 days, we raised $111,000 from our community. Is there a better community in the world than that? And, you know, I always said, like, the power of collective consciousness. You know, here I am in a cafe trying to run it, talking to some of my staff that was in the Arctic, all through mobile. These shots really don't do justice, but some of our cams could see the fires, but I was blown away, and that's what really led me to the king, was that my guide and everyone was watching this, and they thought I was almost like the second Buddha. They couldn't believe the karma. And I have to be honest, like, America's in an interesting place right now. People see us a little differently, and they couldn't believe that this was happening here in America. Like, they love seeing that this was taking place, like this collective community of purpose. And people in Bhutan really started following this campaign. So I kind of like, everyone, how are you doing now? They couldn't believe it. Like, when we threw out this number of $100,000, I didn't know it could be done, let alone in 5 days. And that's why, you know, I start with about this incredible community that's from our Santa Monica camp. And really that's what Explore is about in its social media platforms, is this love of nature, this love of our planet, this love of selfless heroes, this love of people, this love of connective tissue, this love of purity, this love of learning. And I never thought, you know, as a philanthropist, the best people I've met, I've traveled to every state in America, usually don't have the privilege of giving, so I never ask people to give, because time is the ultimate currency in my book. So this was a real experiment, and a really beautiful thing that really took place, and I'm really proud that people trust us at this level, and that's why I'm grateful to be here and want to welcome you all sincerely to the Explore family. I don't know how you guys came out or heard about this. But it's a great honor to have you all, and welcome to Explore. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you. And it's Daphne.
All right, folks, that brings us to Q&A portion of the evening. There's going to be 2 guest associates with microphones, myself and Sammy to my left. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we will come to you. Now remember, this is being recorded, so we ask that you please speak clearly into the microphone. Let's get started. What is our first question? Any questions? We got a question right over here to the right center.
Okay.
Fabulous organization. I'm so impressed. I love the close-up pictures of the bird, all the pictures, but the pictures of the hummingbird and the eagle. I'm just curious to know how you pick your sites and mount the cameras, because it was in such close proximity as opposed to some of your distance shots. And how do you control that?
Well, excellent question. To begin with, let's talk about, the preservation of the animal and the integrity is always the utmost concern. We're not into the sensationalism of anything, so we would never jeopardize, an animal, its birthing, by trying to get the shot or a camera too close. And what's unique about all these cameras, and I really encourage you to, come onto the Explore site, is that behind it are extraordinary nonprofits that are working with these animals, like the eagles with, I think that one is with Dakura. They're called Raptor Resource Project. That might be the most popular camera in America, that one eagle camera. And they kind of pioneered live cam technology, actually. And they love those eagles so much. And the hummingbird, that's a great story of this woman right out here in California who just loves her hummingbirds, and she keeps it far, but we've always investing in the best technology where we control those cameras from afar, remote, and can zoom in and zoom out. So even though it looks really close, it's not as close as it appears. Now, with the monkey, sometimes they come to the camera, or like some of the bison, and that's out of our control. They get curious and enjoy it. As to choosing locations, I don't know. I just always kind of known where to be, and we get lovely suggestions. I did a lot of traveling before, and I'm kind of like Joel. I just love the natural world, and I try to create an eclectic group of things. I mean, I can't deny, I love those brown bears because they're like big dogs. Kind of remind me of Lucky, and cuddle them, and the polar bear. We have orca cameras underwater, walrus in Alaska, shark cams, Anacapa, osprey, hummingbird, tigers, Africa, pandas, NASA, northern lights, farm sanctuary in upstate New York, tons of dogs and cats. And it's really a collective. I mean, now things have changed because a lot of people actually contribute their cameras and want to be. We just launched an otter cam in Northern California. Really cute. I love those guys, and make me happy. And this Panama cam. So it's always new and exciting and pure. Is that helpful?
We have our next question up here at the front center.
Hi, Charlie.
Oh, hey.
I was wondering about...
Let me drop this. Thanks.
I was wondering about how much of your efforts are focused at getting local people in the places that you go interested in the messages that you care about, like anti-poaching, pro-environment. Like, how much of your efforts are directed towards that?
I have a really unique relationship with the nonprofits that we work with. And it really works well because on one hand, I take this attitude of like Sesame Street for adults. That theory is that the first step to stewardship is just falling in love with the local environment. And then with the nonprofits, through our live talks and different things, the gateway is open because now I have people's eyes and ears and they kind of talk about the things that are really relevant to them. So our live talks exactly will be like with the Congo, anti-poaching. A lot of these women will just talk about war and what it's like to live in a war zone. And we don't censor that. And it's a totally open forum. I try to take a neutral ground because I think that sometimes in our society, we're almost labeled not a good person if we don't take an action, and I don't believe that's true. I think the best people I met don't have the ability often to take an action. It's a luxury. And so I try to keep it as neutral as possible and stay out of the politics unless it really is needed or they ask. But that's why it's such a unique thing, because I feel like I kind of open people's hearts, and then they kind of, once it's open, you can have a better conversation and talk about what they want. So I myself don't always, I try not to take a stance. Now, obviously with the gorilla thing, I don't know what will come up. I haven't talked to them about that yet. But yeah, poaching is such a tough, subject. I mean, it breaks your heart. You go to Africa and you see these, I'm looking at this elephant here in the ivory, or, a tiger in India, or anywhere in the world. I mean, it's I want films to be like Disney movies. One of the hard things on Explore.org is we actually see a lot of death. And our audience really struggles with that. And how I respond that way is, I wish that nature could be like a Disney movie, but it's not. But this is a testament to the power of this community that you care so much. Because if I said to you today, the hummingbird's egg got eaten by a blue jay or a raptor nest, you'd be like, okay, but people really, really care. And so it's really beautiful, that people are so connected. And to me, that's a sign that things are working. I don't know if that's helpful, but good question.
Any other questions?
I have one on the left side right here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. This is really wonderful. I just wanted to see what's the difference, the split in between animals and human stories, and how do the human cameras actually, do they move them when they make their reports? And do the animal cameras stay in one place, or do they move as well? So just what's the balance there? Is it a different project, or in general?
Yeah, excellent question. So I'll try to answer it, I guess. So Explorer's been around for a while. So let's give it 3 chapters. In the first chapter, remember, we're living before even social media really exist. And so our library was very documentary and film and photography. Then the social media kind of boom took off, and I was like, it was crazy. I was doing these photos traveling with this dog, Lucky, and this dog bless you phrase, and that kind of took off. It was like I'd reach more people in one day than like our film would reach in a year. So it's like, oh my God, I'm putting myself out of work. This is horrible, but great. And then with the live cams, were really not about people, but about just observing nature up close and personal, with the caveat that we do a lot of live talks. And now with technology, I mean, you literally can take your phone and just go live at any time. And so now, like even with live, there's a lot more like roaming, walk and talk with people because it's easier to do. And so the technology continuously changes. And so, what you saw like in the beginning was more like the films. Then the dog bless you stuff isn't really there because these campaigns and this community it's really special. And then the live cams at the end is a blend of stuff. So we don't have any like cams that are like specifically on people, is what I'm saying. I always like to say nature doesn't sue people. They can be different. So let's stay off it. Well, is that good?
Any other questions?
There's one in the back.
Thank you so much for your work. And for many of us, we know the power of healing and the power of nature in healing. Is there any projects in working to work with institutions like hospitals to provide this content for patients' healing?
You know, it's so unique. Schools, hospitals, elderly, you know, when we get notes saying that people use it, myself have struggled in those realms because some of these institutions are so bureaucratic that it's such a no-brainer. You know, especially like if you've ever visited a hospital and they'll have like CNN on or Fox News and all this stuff. And so it was always kind of the mission. And what I find now, ironically, is like somehow the people who find it, and they write to us. I mean, if you know any hospitals, but it just, it's like you were saying, it's such a no-brainer that it should be even in jails everywhere. So we haven't really done initiatives. We are in a lot of schools, but ironically the schools find us. But that we have found that there's this very there's hard levels of like entryway into these things, which has never made sense to me actually. So if you have any suggestions, they're open. You know, I love it. Is my point.
So that was our session for tonight. Thank you everybody for coming, and please join me in thanking Charlie for this wonderful lecture.
Hey.